with former Mets starting pitcher and former WBC starting pitcher Nelson Figueroa. Is it Nelson? I know people call you Figgy. What should we go by?
Well, Nelson is fine. Figgy is, I still consider my dad to be Figgy, so I don't want to take that title just yet.
All right. So let's talk about the WBC. What are the emotions tied with pitching in a game of that magnitude? I know being able to pitch for Puerto Rico. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, pitching for your country is always a special time, and especially for me, my grandparents are from the island. I never got a chance to really pitch there before the WBC. So having a chance to pitch in front of members of my family and pitching on the island with that team, it was pretty much the Puerto Rican dream team in 2009 and 2013 was when I really had a tremendous success. That was really as playoff caliber baseball as you could come by. Just the emotions were high, playing for your country, having a chance to win a medal for your country, and to really put Puerto Rico back on the map when it comes to international baseball was a huge responsibility for us. And I think we had the best time that we possibly could have with that. And we came up short to Dominican, but I think we proved that we're right up there with those guys, and the stars that have come off that team since then continue to grow each and every year.
We saw like the blonde hair, players dyeing their hair. Is that something Carlos Beltran started, or how did that originate?
Yadier Molina is a big leader both on the field and off the field, and I think when those two guys get around each other, and it started at dinner. Everybody's just out at a dinner. Carlos, foot the bill, of course. So we're all sitting at dinner, and guys are just joking around about it. And all it took was one guy to dye his hair blonde, and then everybody dyed his hair blonde after that. And so you usually find something to bond with, and that was our rally cry.
Did you partake in the festivities?
I did not. I did not. I just couldn't imagine being there with the blonde hair at the time. And for me, it was a little bit much. I had shaved my head for a team in Taiwan. I've done a lot of different things, but at that point, I couldn't see myself being blonde.
So how is it competing against DR? There's a fierce rivalry, like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Kind of speak a little bit about the emotions tied with that game and just the rivalry in itself.
Well, that was the big one. That was basically, Rocky Balboa going up against the champ. You got to be able to beat the champ and be able to talk about it. So it wasn't just about, trying to keep the game close. We wanted to win that game bad. And it was kind of that winner-take-all mentality. So I was unfortunately unable to pitch that game. I tried to find a loophole and be able to pitch in that game, and it didn't work out. But that lineup that they had in 2013 was second to none. They had all-stars up and down that lineup, and they were coming off of having a bad showing in 2009, so they were going out for blood, and they enjoyed their time. And it was funny because in winter ball I played mostly in Dominican because I love the competition. The competition was just at a different level for me, and all those guys, as we were getting our silver medals, they were egging me on to come sit with them because they felt like I was part of their team as well. So for me, it's been a great journey in my career to have an opportunity to play for both teams and to play internationally and to show what I could do, especially with my heritage and my upbringing in the Puerto Rican culture.
So would you say one of your fondest memories as a baseball player is pitching for, Puerto Rico, or being, the Mets starting pitcher in the MLB?
Well, the MLB part, of course, that's the dream that every kid dreams of, no matter where they're from. Being Puerto Rican, of course, now it's almost like another team. It's another element. And playing for your country, of course, is different. I tell everybody all the time that's the beauty of the WBC. You never see a team like that put together, almost the dream team of your country, and having the opportunity to leave your mark in that way, that to me is very special. So I think for me, yes, making it to the big leagues was great, but there were kids on our team in 2013 and even kids on the team last year that you hadn't heard of yet. The Edwin Diaz's of the world, the Joe Jimenez, those guys you hadn't heard of yet. And meanwhile, you look now and they're all-stars. They're some of the best pitchers in the game. So you start looking at guys like Javi Baez and Lindor, the new generation of players that are coming out, and they got an opportunity to kind of do that together at the WBC, but after you leave the WBC, you never let that go. You kind of push each other and motivate each other so that we see each other again at the big league level.
Talk to me about your playlist. What type of music are you listening before you pitch, like when you're throwing a bullpen or something like that?
Let me tell you, it really varies because there's certain emotions you go through. There's a range that you go through. My playlist kind of throughout the day would kind of be something mellow to keep me kind of focused and laid back. And then once you get there and you start to get amped up a little bit, my pregame, right after I come out of that bullpen, I feel like I'm locked in. I go and I listen. I get usually was like a Jay-Z, one of my little amped up, something to hype me up kind of track. But WBC, let me tell you something. I think I've heard every Daddy Yankee song, forward, backwards, upside down, and he was actually there with us in 2009. Yeah. I didn't realize how small he was. I think they shoot him, from the low camera and then bigger. But it was tremendous how much support we got from all the different artists and stuff that came around. They made songs, out of our team and out of our plight to win the gold medal. So I think when it comes to music, I'm pretty eclectic. I have a varied range of different things that I go through, and it's also that playlist after games that I like to kind of mellow out and chill out and see how well I did and focus on what I could do better for the next time.
So you mentioned you have some reggaeton there. Mm-hmm. Any hip hop other than Jay-Z? Some Drake, some J. Cole.
I go from old school. Wu-Tang used to be my number one. I go way back to Wu-Tang and Protect Your Neck. That used to be my rally cry. So start out with a little bit of Wu-Tang and go from there. I think you got Nas, Illmatic. You keep going all the way through the years. And yes, I like some of the new stuff too, but I'm still kind of an old school hip hop guy, and especially when it comes to Jay-Z, I think you can find at least one or two songs on every track. I think Eminem, I used to come out to Eminem when I was pitching for the Mets when I first came up in 2008 for them at Shea Stadium, and Lose Yourself was of course my rally cry there. And so I every time I hear that, I get the emotions of what it was like to pitch at Shea Stadium in front of my family and friends. So I think music has a tremendous tie into sports and athletics. I mean, from training to when you're competing, and to after when you're competing, to kind of just, it always tells a story and you can always relate to.
Definitely. Have you heard Eminem's new album? LeBron James saying it's pretty tough,
Yeah, I actually downloaded it last night. So I was sitting here watching the game. I downloaded it and I had to listen to it on the train home. And so far, I still think he's one of the top 5 that are alive. I think he's just so good at it. Sometimes he gets a little too verbose in his ability to flip syllables nonstop. When you can kind of flip words for 2 straight minutes, it's not fair for everybody else. But everybody else is kind of on a different wavelength. Everybody's used to doing 16 bars. This guy can do 72 bars straight without breathing. Somehow, he's the rap god. I consider him that. And I love the fact that even the guys that are at the top of the game when it comes to record sales and everything, they even notice it. There was a couple of the younger artists that got called out.
You got Yachty, Drake, Tyler.
Yeah, Lil Zane, all those guys. they got called out, and the best part was they went to Instagram and said, "Oh my God, this is historic." So it's one of those albums that, Revival, again, I think he did maybe too many singing tracks where he had, I think, 6 different female artists kind of singing the hook and everything like that. And I would have been fine with 2 of those. Remix, send out some other ones. But I think when it comes to tracks like River, the emotion that it brings you, I think when it comes to I go back to Despicable when he first was coming back with the whole Recovery album, when he did Despicable Freestyle, and he took those 2 beats and mixed those 2 beats together, and just, I can sing those forever. My daughter even knows those beats by now and knows those lyrics. And but I think Drake, of course, everybody wants to come for the guy at the top, and Drake, I don't see him falling off anytime soon, but I would love to see a rap battle between Drake and Eminem. I think that's
interesting because Pusha T kind of put it on Drake.
Pusha went after him.
People look at Kendrick Lamar, then J. Cole, then Drake. Drake's kind of number 3 right now. Because pop, hip hop kind of does both, but. That would definitely be an interesting battle.
I can't even call it crossover anymore because, if he was bad at singing, then you could say something. But he's so good at being able to carry a tune, and also, when it comes to spitting lyrics, he's one of the best. And yes, did he take an L per se with Pusha T? I love Pusha T. I think he's one of the best lyricists out there. And then when it comes to all these mumble rappers and guys who are just making the ringtone rap kind of thing, I don't even think of Pusha T being in that class. They do their own thing, they make their money, but they aren't true to it. Or Pusha T, and I get it. I love beef and hip hop, I do, and I think this is one of those that, did he take an L? Could he have come back with something? Could they have gone back and, yes, of course. And will they do something? Probably, but I think the emotions were high on that one because when it comes to family and it comes to children especially,
Children.
that's where kind of you draw the line. And you know, you got to give Drake a little bit of credit there, because he kind of said, you know what, I'll give him that one. You know, he also looks at the bank account and says, I'm still kind of winning.
So I have to ask you, Nelson, do you still have it? Can you still go out there and pitch in a men's baseball league and strike some cats out?
I'm going to say yes. I feel like I can. Would it be as easy as it was? Probably not. I'll have to change speeds more. I'll be the crafty righty, you know, at 44 years old. But I mean, I watch Bartolo go out there and do it with one pitch, and you know, I go out there and I still play catch. I do the fantasy leagues with the Mets and things like that, and so I still feel like, you know, I can get it to about 85, which isn't very far off. I wasn't a hard thrower, but the ability to throw my off-speed stuff, my curveball, especially for a strike, that's the one that's that. I don't have to rip those things off if I'm not getting paid to do it yet. So, but I would love to do it. I love the competition, so I would always go out there. It's always the guys that, especially like from high school, that still tell me, everyone I think hit home runs off me in high school. Everyone, but I somehow made it to the major league. So,
Can you strike me out? Can you strike out a Cornell baseball player? I'm 26, you know, he's a little past his prime, but
I'm up for the challenge, bro.
Up for the challenge.
I tell you right now, I do a lot of hitting lessons and pitching lessons with some kids and some college kids, and I'll get in there and I'll throw them some live VP, and you know, and you get comfortable in the box. I know how to change that game up.
Nelson, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Rehan Sabri, signing off from SNY Studios.